Welcome. Please rise, body or spirit, and turn to page 55 in the gray hymnal. Join me in singing Dark of Winter, number 55.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor. My name's Reverend Eric, or Hey You, or that guy over there. It's a joy to be here. I'm one of the sabbatical ministers, and whether you're joining us online or here in person, it's a real honor to be with you this morning. If you are new and visiting for the first time, if you're online, please type something in the chat box to so we can say hi. And same thing if you're here in person. If you'd like to learn more about us, we have a small gathering in the Redmond room after the service, and that's just out those doors and on the left. Also, we have a survey going around for the newcomer survey, and the link for that, I'll say it twice. It's UUAA.org/newcomer survey. Once again, that's UUAA.org/newcomer survey. And we'd love to hear more from you. Trying to think of any other examples of announcements because there's so much happening in the life of this congregation, but I'll just highlight one more event that I'm a little bit jealous that I won't be here for. It's Friday Fun Night. Who can pass that up? And it's this Friday, December 15th from 6 p.m. And it'll be right here in person with desserts and crafts and activities for all ages. So hope that you can join us there. As we prepare our hearts and minds for worship, may we find in this hour, in this brief time together, a space for our spirits to be renewed. In this gathering of friends, may we be ready to extend ourselves to those in need and with trust to receive the hand that is offered. In this community of ideals, may we remember the principles that guide us and reflect upon those things that give our lives the most meaning, renewing our dedication to serve the highest that we know. And in this time of worship, may our minds be open to new truth and our hearts be receptive to love as we give thanks for this life we're blessed to share together.
I light candles all the time, year-round, but I go through a lot more candles in this season, partly because these fall and winter months coincide with personal losses, and partly because darkness finds us sooner, and partly because of the cold that awaits. I light candles as a personal ritual, and many of you do the same, I suspect. And many of you do that right here, where we have a dedicated space for lighting a candle in memory or in celebration of someone or something meaningful to you. You may also share what is in your heart in the book that is right next to the candle table. Now, these personal rituals are important, but our communal ritual of lighting the congregation's chalice is also of importance. And as we light this chalice today, I'd like you to think about all the places that need the healing light that this chalice represents. We need it in this physical space of the sanctuary. We need it in the virtual space created by our live streaming congregants. And we need it in the more internal space of our hearts, where kindness and compassion reside. Let us keep in mind that we are also midway through the Jewish Festival of Light. Hanukkah began on Thursday evening. How complicated Hanukkah must be for so many Jewish families this year. If you are a Jewish identified Unitarian Universalist joining us today, know that we hold the complexity of the holiday season with you, and we pray for peace. If you are attending virtually and have a candle or a chalice nearby, please light it along with us, and let us know in the chat where the flame is burning. I'd like to invite a couple members of the Pastoral Care team to help us light the chalice today, Larry Works and Debita Graham. As they come up, please keep in mind all the places in the world in need of healing light right now. And will you say with me our chalice lighting words? We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you. On the Sunday that we are focusing on pastoral care in this congregation, it seems appropriate to take a moment to meditate on the flame that we have just lit. In a season that holds so much sadness for so many, and as we learn of continued conflict and deaths, can we sit together with the complexity of the moment and with the emotions that we each may be feeling? A great deal of pastoral care is being present for and with others, especially in moments of pain and sorrow. So let's practice that together for a moment, just a few handfuls of breath together in silence. As a reminder of how we aspire to be in relationship with each other, we engage in the practice of speaking the words of our covenant together each Sunday. Today, especially, hear and hold the last phrase of this covenant as a foundational part of who we are. In 4 words, to help one another, it encapsulates what pastoral care is. After the covenant, we will sing our song of aspiration, and the words will be on the screens. So I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join me first in the words of our covenant. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
This past Friday, I had the privilege and absolute pleasure of hosting a breakfast for dinner community cook for Alpha House with SGD families and other members of our amazing community. Not only did we create a feast of pancakes, waffles, bacon, so much bacon, and fruit for Alpha House families, we also cooked and ate together. We gave of our time, our treasure in the form of flour, butter, milk, and eggs, and above all else, our tender, loving care. I walked out to my car at the end of the evening, tired, but my tummy was full of delicious breakfast food, and my heart was full of gratitude. Caring for one another is the essence of what we do here. Our story for all ages this morning shows us that when we give of ourselves to help others, that same love and care will be there for us when we need it. Goat's Coat, written and illustrated by Tom Percival. Let me tell you the tale of Alfonso the goat, who was terribly proud of his lovely new coat. It had bright shiny buttons all made out of glass, and a collar the color of freshly cut grass. People turned to admire as Alfonso walked by. "What a marvelous coat," he heard someone sigh. Alfonso was happy. He pranced and he skipped. Then he heard a sad noise croaking out of a ditch. Deep down in the ditch was a family of frogs. They used to live there in a mossy old log. But the log wasn't there. It had rotted away, and the frogs from the log now had nowhere to stay. The frogs were distraught. "Please help us," they cried, and Alfonso felt sorry for them, so he tried. He unpicked some stitches upon his new coat, and using the fabric, helped make them a boat. The frogs were delighted. He'd just made their day. "Oh, thank you," they croaked, as they all sailed away. Alfonso's new coat didn't look quite so smart, but he felt a warm glow in the depths of his heart. He clipped happily on till he came to a shed. The sound from within filled Alfonso with dread. What could possibly make such a sad sound as that? Alfonso peered in, then he saw it. A cat. The cat was trembling and terribly pale. It was clear to see that she'd hurt her tail. Alfonso got busy and cleaned up the cut. Then, using his coat, he bandaged it up. The cat was so glad, so grateful and happy, but Alfonso's new coat was now looking quite ratty. He clip-clopped along through the crisp winter's day. He was whistling a song when a hen came his way. The hen was upset. She'd lost one of her chicks. Could this be something Alfonso could fix? Together the hen and Alfonso looked around, but the hen's little chick just couldn't be found. Then somewhere up high, a voice cried, "Help me!" And there was the chick, stuck up in a tree. So Alfonso removed even more of his coat and tied it together to make a long rope. He gritted his teeth and climbed up like a rocket. He came down again with the chick in his pocket. Alfonso's new coat was now looking a mess. Still, what's done is done. It was all for the best. As Alfonso walked on, there were more problems still, but he helped solve them all with his coat and his skill. Alfonso's new coat was now just a few threads, but he thought of the good deeds that he'd done instead. The weather grew colder, snow fell all around. Poor coatless Alfonso trudged back toward town. The blizzard grew worse. It got colder and colder. Alfonso took shelter behind a large boulder. Alfonso was freezing. The night would soon fall, and so he curled up in a cold little ball. But then he heard voices ring out through the night. Someone was shining around a bright light. Here came the frogs and the cat and the hen. He wasn't alone, he'd been found by his friends. Seeing them all made Alfonso feel better. And not only that, they had brought him a sweater. They had made it themselves from the things they could find. A gift to Alfonso for being so kind. And so our dear goat had made best friends forever. And he wore his new sweater, whatever the weather. The end. And now is the time in our service when we sing our children and youth to their programs. K through 5th graders, please follow your teachers out of the sanctuary, remembering to walk and not run as the congregation sings with love and affection.
Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine.
Someone from the last service suggested I move the microphone up a little bit. Can you all hear me? Thank you. I grew up in a church with a very strong sense of community. And one of the ways we had that was because we did home visits. We visit the elderly, sick people, sometimes just friendly visits. So when I was about 5 years old, my mother took me with her for a home visit. And she said, we're gonna go meet this really old couple at our church. So when we got there, they lived in a very small, humble home. My mother knocked on the door, and they both came to the door. And they had such big smiles on their faces and saying, oh my goodness, how nice to see you, come in, come in. And just immediately, I felt comfortable being there. So she was in the kitchen cooking, and she said, come in and let's all chat while I'm making this soup. So the adults were chatting, and I was kind of interested in watching her because she was cutting these little vegetables and making vegetable soup. So I could tell my mother was getting ready to go when she said, "Oh, the soup is ready. Won't you please join us for a bowl of soup?" So we did, and I'll never forget, that's the best bowl of vegetable soup I've ever had. But I left there with such a warm feeling, and I think a seed was planted, because many, many decades later, when our children had left home, I was cutting down my hours at work, I decided to join the caring committee here in this church. And that was later changed to Pastoral Care, and now we call ourselves Care Visitors. But I want to tell you 3 short stories about some women that I visited for several years. They've all passed on a few years ago, but they all had gifts for me. One woman, her husband had died. She had health problems, kind of had to retire a little bit early, couldn't drive anymore. And every time I visited her, she mentioned how much she loved singing in the choir. Now, we often talked about her kids and grandkids and reminiscing, but she was telling me, you know, I started singing in the choir when we were over on Washtenaw, and I look forward to every practice and every time we sing, and she said, it's just been a joy in my life. And I thought, wow, she's had so many losses, and yet every time I visited, she wanted to tell me how much that meant to her. Another woman I visited was very elderly, and she was in a nursing home. And I went to meet the nurse because I hadn't been there yet, and she said, "Oh, I'm glad you're here," because she doesn't get visitors. She said, "But there's something you need to know. She's very hard of hearing, and you're going to have to yell at her." And I said, "Yell?" And she said, "Yes." So I went in, and I spoke in a loud voice, and she shook her head and went like this. So I had to yell. And it felt really uncomfortable to me, but it was working because her face just lit up. She could hear me. And so we just started having all these conversations. And after a few visits, I realized that she spends most of her days in silence. And no wonder when I come, her face lights up because I'm someone she can talk to. So one time when I went to visit her, she had a roommate, and you know how they have those curtains that they pull across that divide a room. So I started visiting with my person, and the roommate started answering my questions. She couldn't hear the other woman talking, but she could hear me, and it was like a two-for. I was just a little discombobulated. But as I was walking out, she gave me a big smile and a wave, and I waved back, and I thought, you know, she needs a visitor. The last person I'm going to tell you about is another elderly woman, widowed, couldn't drive anymore, had some health problems. She and I both had loved to garden. We loved to walk in the botanical gardens. We loved fall. And I probably visited her over a 3-year period, and in that time she was declining. So one of the things that we had done as a tradition was drive in the fall to see all the beautiful leaves and autumn colors. And I knew that last year that she had almost no vision left, so I wasn't offering her a fall ride. And she said, "Well, Sarah, can't we do another fall ride?" And I said, "Okay," thinking this is going to be strange. Will I just be describing things? I wasn't quite sure what my role was. But she just started looking around, and she'd, "Oh, I see a red maple tree." And we'd drive some more, and she'd see another red maple tree. "Oh my gosh, I can see the red maple trees." And this is what she did. That was the only thing she could see throughout our ride. And when we got back, she said, "I want to thank you so much. This is the best day in a long time." And so what I've learned is that we go through many losses, especially as we age, but these people who found some joy and something that they look forward to was a real gift for me. So I'm really grateful that I've been able to do this, be in this role for many years. I'm grateful for Theresa and the team that's behind us. And I'm really grateful for my mother for taking me on a home visit when I was 5 years old.
Thank you, Sara. Well, you now know how much I love lighting candles. I also love giving gifts, especially because I can wrap them. I really do love to wrap gifts. But in my job here, so many gifts, both the ones I give and the ones I receive, are unwrapped and might even slip by unnoticed. As you heard Sara share, she has received many unexpected gifts from offering pastoral care as a visitor. It's clear how her time, her attention, and her care are the gifts that she gives, but she has received back just as much. Our time to practice generosity in the form of the weekly offering is similar. You give a gift, your money, it's not wrapped, but it goes to the work that this congregation does to further its vision and values. You give this gift willingly and as you are able, knowing that some weeks or months it's easier to do that than others. It's my hope that in giving, you also feel you have received a gift back as well. So think about that during the offertory music. What might that gift be? Now, there are many ways to give. You may give online at uuaa.org/giving. You can text UUAA to 73256, or you can put cash or checks in the baskets. Now, if you are new to us, just visiting, please know that your presence is a beautiful gift, and allow the baskets to pass you by. Will the ushers now come forward as our offering is gratefully given and received? And I thank you for your generosity. I can't know what gift each of you thought about during that lovely offertory, but I know one thing I have received from this place is the gift of community. It is a community that welcomed me in almost 14 years ago now, and has supported me through all sorts of life events, and sustains my work and purpose in life right now. I've come to know what a giving community UUAA truly is. You give financially through pledges and weekly offerings, but also in participating and volunteering and in caring for each other. And since I'm talking about gifts, we are very close to providing all the gifts requested for the Alpha House families through the giving tree that is in the front entryway. There are still just a few more gift cards needed. And I'm pretty sure you can take the tag from there and go into the social hall and buy scrip, which is where you can get gift cards. And every time you purchase scrip here, it benefits UUAA as well. So if you find a gift tag out there and the amount seems like it's a bit daunting, perhaps you might want to share that with someone else. But we'll see if we can try and add up all of those gift tags today and finish up that offering we are giving to the Alpha House families. So will the ushers now come forward as we dedicate our gifts from today? And would you rise in body or spirit and join me as we say the words of our dedication together. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you. And if you would remain standing as we prepare to sing hymn number 18 in the gray hymnal, What Wondrous Love Is This? To me, the hymn lyrics embody what pastoral care is all about. Let that idea shape your understanding of the hymn today as we sing together number 18, What Wondrous Love.
Good morning. So I'm excited to share that in 2024, it will be my 25th year as a Unitarian Universalist. I know, isn't that great? I have been in this congregation since 2005, And I have known some of you because we see each other on Sundays, because we sat on a committee together, been on many of those, or we belong to a Chalice circle, or maybe we attended a retreat recently together, or maybe I'll meet you in the social hall after this, right? This congregation has been so special to me in so many ways, but I will have to say that the best way is that I met Karen Hale 10 years ago, and we were married in this sanctuary. Recently, I joined the Pastoral Care team, and this team is committed to connecting with the congregation when we're experiencing life events, whether it's a new beginning, a partnership, a wedding, children, graduations, as well as when we are challenged with separations or divorce, illness, or death. We try as a committee to help in several ways by sending cards and helping people get to appointments. We recently started sending birthday cards to our youth, and that has been really fun. I mean, I'm sending cards to 5-year-olds, right? And I would love to see their faces when they receive a snail mail card, because I really don't know how many young people get those anymore, right? You know, actually through the mail, right? We also have a table in the social hall, and we have a remembrance book where you can write about a loved one, and we have some quiet place behind the table if you would want to share something privately. So I have benefited from pastoral care in my past. Many years ago, I had some surgery, and I received cards and calls, which were really lovely and really, truly strong medicine. Well, one of those cards was from a church friend, Victor Hola, who I met through our interweave LGBT group at the time. Victor and Scott, his husband, who sits over there and was here at the 9:30 service, were amazing at pastoral care without even knowing it. They brought life to our interweave events, and they opened their homes for festive gatherings. Well, Victor had a big personality, as many of you might know. He was one of those people that when he was talking to you, you felt like you were the only one in the room. I remember that I was surprised that he was on the pastoral care team because he was a nurse, and it seemed that he might not really want to reach out to others during his off times. Yet, Victor loved connecting to people. Sadly, Victor died in 2020. Many of us grieved privately since COVID kept us from doing it together. And I don't think I'm the only one who doesn't miss him sitting there where Scott and Victor always sat, in that side of the sanctuary that Reverend Gale affectionately called the gay bleachers. So, back to pastoral care today. Earlier this fall, a pastoral care team member was going on vacation, and she asked if I could cover the meal train for a few weeks. So I said yes, and we had a family that recently had a baby and wanted meals. I agreed, and then I discovered that there was a website, and there were all these moving parts, and it really was overwhelming to my retired brain. The family lived out of town, and I got really worried that our team wouldn't volunteer to travel to them. I even found myself wishing that I hadn't volunteered to do this, as it was complicated and more challenging than I expected it to be. But I sent out the request, and the meal train volunteers signed up. And the family graciously agreed to collect their meals at church on Sundays. So on one of those Sundays, I met the family, and I met the new baby, whose name is Victor. Yes, I cried. I teared up. And yes, I actually could see Victor grinning through my tears. And yes, it was a humbling moment for me, as I remembered that the complicated is also a part of being in beloved community. So some of you might have considered asking for the support of the pastoral care team, but you didn't think your event was serious enough or important enough, or you just didn't think about it. Well, I hope that you will reach out when needed and as you need it, and do it for Victor if that might help you. Our song today offers that invitation as well. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul, when I'm sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground, friends to me gather round, oh my soul. Blessings to you all.
What wondrous love is this, oh my soul, oh my soul. And when I find myself sinking down as the holidays approach, it's easy to sympathize with one of our cultural icons, Charlie Brown, as he says, good grief, along the way. What are we to do with all of this loss, even with friends gathered round? How do we navigate that tension we sometimes feel between the suffering and loss in the world and the calls to joy and moving forward and all of that complexity? I'm a slow learner in a lot of ways. As you get to know me, you'll understand this better. I wasn't that aware of what grief really meant when I was a kid. And I wondered of all of these stories of like a blue Christmas and it being a tough time of year for some people. And I thought, like, I was all focused on presents as a kid and not so aware of the people who weren't at the table anymore. And some of this is also, okay, I'm gonna jump topics for 1 second. I'm a good driver, right? As many of you are as well. But have you ever had this experience where you're on a road trip, you're driving, you start thinking about something, and maybe you're thinking about something a little long, and then you come back and you're like, okay, I'm still on the highway. I haven't missed my exit, but there's this awareness that there was a period of time, an undisclosed period of time, where you were not aware that you were driving a car. Right? I'm not alone in this, I know. But it's scary. So much of our driving is second nature. And there's a lot in our lives that we can also do when we're sort of on autopilot. And sometimes that's really helpful to maintain functioning in the world. But it's also a pretty good rule of thumb to keep your eyes on the road as well and to check your mirrors occasionally. Sometimes there are events in one's life that we think are in the past, but are not as far in the past as we think. And so I think of my great-grandma Hausman, who I had never heard any stories about until my adulthood. And It was only later that I was talking with my grandma about the day that her mom, my great-grandma, walked out onto the train tracks. Slowly, eyes cast down, the train sounding the horn, trying to stop, could not stop in time. And what impact that would have had on that whole generation, that whole family, the repercussions of the whole family system that I didn't know about that loss. So back to driving. Remember that scene in Jurassic Park where they're running away from the dinosaur? They're driving a Jeep, and then they look in the rearview mirror and they see the Tyrannosaurus Rex or Velociraptor coming after them. And then there's this beautiful moment where you see the dinosaur in the rearview mirror, and then you read the text where it says, "Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear." It's like that sometimes with our own suffering and loss in life. That sometimes we're driving on autopilot and aren't aware of it at all, and sometimes we see it in the rearview mirror, and sometimes it's closer than we think. This is such a universal theme. There's a beautiful Buddhist story about this, and it's about the life of Kisa Gautami, who she was living the life. She had married well, she had a beautiful baby boy, an only child, and everything seems to be going right. And then her baby boy died. And she didn't know what to do or how to be. Like, the loss was so overwhelming, so disorienting, she didn't know how to go on or what to do. And somebody said the Buddha was a wise person and maybe he could fix things. And so she went with her baby boy and asked the Buddha, my baby boy is dead, can you help? Can you help me, please? And he said, here, gather the mustard seeds from someone in town whose house had not suffered loss, and I will make for you a potion that will bring your son back. She said, sure, yeah, gladly. So she started her own journey, going first to the first door, and then to the second, and through every single household in the whole village. And one after the other, the family said, please help yourself to the mustard seeds. You take all you want. But you should know, I have a brother who died last year. I have a parent, a child, another relative, that all of the families, one by one, all had suffered loss and all had suffered. This was part of her spiritual journey, where she then came back to the Buddha, through time gained a level of acceptance with that loss and found a place to move on, but it was not without pain and not as she wanted it. Sometimes our own thinking of grief is shaped by the 1970s studies done by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on the stages of grief that list out some common features that a lot of us encounter. Some of these stages we can see in the story of the mustard seed as well, where stages such as denial, anger, bargaining. Bargaining is the big one. What can I do? I'll do anything to fix this, to make it different. Depression is a piece of it. Acceptance is a part. And there's a lot of things that Kubler-Ross got right about this model in terms of having different kinds of responses at different times. But it's not a linear process. It's not like you get to be angry about it, check that box, and then you're on to the next. You get through all of them, and then you get the gold star, you're done. Sometimes you even think that you're at a place of acceptance, and then you're in a store, and they're playing a song in the background that reminds you of, oh yeah, that one time when we were all together, and then you're right back there in the middle of the sadness. So how do we navigate that as a community, and how do we care for each other too at times when we are at different stages at different times? A friend of mine has this idea of the platinum rule that I love to steal. I'll credit him. Mark, if you're out there, thanks for letting me do this. We all know the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you'd have them to do to you. In the example of a love language, this would be like, if you love golfing, and you do unto others as you'd want them to do to you, so you want the new golf clubs for Christmas. So you get your spouse a new set of golf clubs for Christmas because that's how you show love, right? Because that's what you would want. Anybody else get a bad Christmas gift along the way? I got some extra golf clubs if you want some. When we apply this to grief, too, sometimes we need different things at different times. And so the platinum rule is the level up, is the upgrade, which is do unto others as they'd have done to them. Not do unto others as you'd want done for you, but as they would want. So if they like to be called Henry or they like words of affirmation, you give them words of affirmation, not the golf clubs. And if they want somebody to listen and not give advice, then you listen. And if they're saying, I feel lost and I actually would like you to help me brainstorm how to get out, then you know, but it's do unto them as they'd find helpful, as they would want. And to do this, you need to know each other. You need to be in a relationship. You need to be able to be open yourself in order to be able to hear their needs in all of the different ways, everything. People are complex. You ever realize people are hard sometimes? And put them in a group and now you got people together? That doesn't make things easier. But there's care and there's hope and there's redemption along the way. That's part of the call at a time of year like this, is how do we take care of each other when everyone has loss, everyone has encountered pain in life. And in a holiday season that brings so much joy to so many, it doesn't make the loss not there. And so how do we live with that in ways that open us up to the fullness of life and not close us down or leave us feeling isolated or alone? I'd like to close with a poem by Rumi called Bird Wings. He writes, your grief for what you've lost lifts a mirror up to where you are bravely working. Expecting the worst, you look, and instead, here's the joyful face you've been wanting to see. Your hand opens and closes. It opens and closes. If it were always a fist or always stretched open, you would be paralyzed. Your deepest presence is in every small contracting and expanding, the two as beautifully balanced and coordinated as bird wings. May we create space to continue expanding and contracting, experiencing the fullness of life on this journey together. And to share more about how we do this as a congregation right now, right here, I invite Theresa to come forward.
Just hold that image in your mind, too, the bird wings or the hand opening and closing, the giving and receiving. as I talk a little bit about what pastoral care looks like in this congregation right now. Well, one thing is we do have a half-time minister dedicated to pastoral care. And we also have several teams that directly provide and support pastoral care. And one is the appropriately named Pastoral Care Team. It's a group of 7 folks who, with me, coordinate things like meals and rides, the card writing project, some of the things that Leigh talked about. Members of the team often serve as the chat hosts for our live streaming services. The group works on other projects and educational opportunities. A couple years ago, we ran a mindful aging series that some of you might have taken part in. Members of this team are present at the pastoral care table that's in the social hall. And we invite you to stop by anytime if you have questions, if you want to talk, if you want to let us know about someone who might need to connect, or if you want to volunteer in some capacity. The table is immediately to the left when you enter the social hall. Another team we have is the Pastoral Care Visitors team, and that's the one that Sara was talking about. Some of the folks in that team are also at the table after services. There's a group of 5 people on the team now, and they coordinate visits. Some of them are long-term, regular visits with congregants, and some are one-time, short-term visits. And if it's you or someone you know who might benefit from a visit, please let us know at the Pastoral Care table. We also have a memorial reception team, and most of you don't ever see them in action. It's a larger group of volunteers who work with me and families when we're planning receptions that happen after a memorial service. Many of the ones on that team have volunteered because they were once the recipients of that same sort of care, and they wanted a way to give back. We also have a collaboration with the Alzheimer's Association through the Memory Loss Caregivers Support Team. And several in our congregation are deeply involved with this group. Priscilla Spencer, Joan Burley, and Sandy Kunkel are co-facilitators. This is a group that meets monthly on Zoom for people who are caring for loved ones with mild cognitive impairment or any type of dementia. And new members are welcome to join at any time. This is a really important collaboration. Caregiving of any kind can be exhausting, and caregiving for someone with memory loss has its own challenges. And so there's more information about this group at the Pastoral Care table and also in the weekly news. It's often a misunderstanding that pastoral care is only what I do, or a few of the people on the pastoral care team do it, or that it's only about memorials or supporting families through death or medical crises. Yes, it is all of those things, but pastoral care encompasses so much more, and it is available to anyone, even our youth, our young adults, and to families. If something is weighing on you, that alone is enough to reach out. There's no such thing as something too insignificant. And there are so many instances when an individual, someone among you who takes initiative and writes to me to say they noticed that so-and-so was struggling or hasn't been attending one of the group meetings. So they followed up and they wanted to update me. Or they've read a post on social media, something about a difficulty someone was experiencing, and they responded. If you are in a UUAA group, think about all the ways you connect, all the ways you care for each other. We often learn these things in an opening check-in. All of that is pastoral care, and you do it all the time. Pastoral care really is about being present and taking time to care. It's the wondrous love we offer when someone might be sinking down. It's the wondrous love we sing about when we know we are surrounded by love and friends. We are surrounded by community. Now, no matter what size the congregation, but especially in a large congregation, the work of pastoral care must be shared by the community. And I hope by this point in the service, you can see the many ways you are already providing pastoral care for each other. When you volunteer to make a meal or offer a ride, when you light a candle, when you share a written joy or sorrow, when you read what has been written and then hold that for someone, when you talk to someone you don't know in the social hall, when you listen, when you offer to write a note to someone that you read about in the Pastoral Care News. And if you don't read the Pastoral Care News, I would encourage you to do so. It comes to you weekly, and it keeps you connected to this community. And I encourage you also to send in news that you would like included. By sharing in this way, it helps widen our circle of caring. As we close today, I'm asking you to commit to one act of pastoral care, just one thing, in the next few months. Now, you probably picked up a pencil and paper on the way in, and if you missed that, you can raise your hand and an usher will bring one by for you. What will you commit to? Think about it. Think about pastoral care in its broadest sense. So then name that, write it down, and then do it. Now, this is just for yourself. I'm not collecting it. I'm not going to check to see what everyone wrote. But take a moment and really think about it as we listen to some music here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, dear ones, for being part of a congregation that understands pastoral care is foundational to who we are, to our vision, our values, and our community. You have my thanks and praise for all you do and for all you have just committed to do. In that spirit, would you rise in body or spirit and sing with us hymn 128 in the gray hymnal? For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. Hymn 128.
For
Our time of worship together comes to a close, but our service to each other and the world around us continues as always.
May we share in our suffering and also share the tending to each other in our times of suffering and loss.
We need not think alike to love alike, and extending ourselves in care and service to others, this is the core of congregational life and what it means to be a community.
May we remember the different seasons of our own lives and in the lives of others.
Let our actions speak the language of compassion, and may our hearts be open to the beauty of shared tears and experiences along the way.
Until we gather again in this spirit of unity, let us go forth with gratitude, love, and a commitment to be on this journey together. Amen, and may it be so.